Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Institute of Hospitality Professional Development webinar. My name's Sam Coulstock, and I'm the Head of Professional Development here at the Institute of Hospitality, and delighted to welcome you to today's webinar talking about strategic business management in hospitality. Before we start on today's webinar, just some housekeeping items to run through. So please ask questions using the question function on your screen, and we'll try to get to as many of those questions towards the end of today's session. We'll aim to finish within the hour, and remember that this hour that we spend together counts towards your CPD hours. Remember to record this and reflect on your learning outcomes via your IoH members dashboard. Today's webinar will also be filmed and it'll be placed on the Institute's on-demand webinar website soon, so you can watch this back as and when you like. So without further ado, let's introduce our panel. I've already introduced myself, so I'll hand over to Demetrios. If you could just tell us who you are, what you do, and why you said I'm in to the Institute of Hospitality.
Thank you very much, Sam. I'm Dimitrios Bouchalis. I'm professor in Bournemouth University. As you know, in Bournemouth, we've got a very strong tourism and hospitality provision, and we've been doing that for many, many years. I arrived in this country from Greece in 1990. I remember in 91, I became a member of the Institute of Hospitality, or what used to be called the HCIMA at the time. And I remember receiving the associate certificate at the time. I was so proud of it. Now we're institutional members in Bournemouth, and obviously we encourage our students to be part of the Institute of Hospitality and be part of the professional body of the industry, and engage with many members through placements, through jobs, and engaging with research and knowledge co-creation.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dimitrios. And Basil, if I hand over to you next.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, everyone. I feel so privileged to be with all of you today. Thank you for the invite. I'm the head of people and culture at the one and only Canopy by Hilton in the United Kingdom. In the UK for the last 6 years. Before that, I was in Dubai and Doha, also in hospitality and hotels. In human resources, I start my journey in human resources in 2005 with luxury hotels between Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Al Ain, and also Doha. So I'm a member now for 2 years in the Institute of Hospitality. I love every minute. It's very nice to have sense of belonging to the industry with the Institute of Hospitality. That's what I feel belonging. I feel like I'm updated with best practice, challenging, finding solutions, exhibitions as well. All of this nice awards every year. So yeah, I think it's very important for all the students as well to keep themselves updated of what's happening. It's also brotherhood, sisterhood, if you want to put it, which you network with other students or with other professionals from the industry, learn from them, get to know them. Yeah, so, and thank you again, and I can't wait to hear more about the topic of the day.
Brilliant. Thank you, Basil. And Mark, if we could come to you next, please.
Thank you. Well, I was born in London, and I joined the Institute. I was thinking then, Dimitri, I think it was called the Hotel Catering Institute then, when I joined in 1971.
Institutional Management Association, IHCM.
I think that came later. I think the original name was, I don't know, I'll have to, but that seems to be in my head. I joined then because it was part of the qualification I was getting. I was getting a membership through examination, and I stayed a member even though I left UK in the mid-70s because of the networking internationally. And I lived for 40 years in Hong Kong, but working across not only in Asia Pacific but also in North America. And the networking is incredible. You can usually find there's members in almost every place where you'll find some sort of hospitality activity. We had a very strong chapter in Hong Kong some years ago, but I think it's not as strong as it was, but I think there's scope for that to expand. Yeah, that's me. I'm now back in UK.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mark. And Rosie, over to you.
Hi, so I'm Rosie Radwell. I'm Managing Director and owner of the Marsham Court Hotel in Bournemouth. I actually joined the Institute in January this year, so I'm fairly new to the Institute, but I've been keeping aware of everything that goes on because I became the chair of our local hospitality association in March this year, and one of the roles for the chair is to be the member in the Institute of Hospitality. So Tim Seaward was in it for 4 years before, and I believe he's continued his membership, but it's one thing that we always do. So yeah, the chair always reports back to the association as to what the Institute are doing. But I have lived and breathed hotels since I was born, and always been brought up in them. So yeah, family business.
Brilliant, lovely. Thank you, Rosie. And we seem to have by accident, not by design, a strong cohort from the South Coast today. So both Dimitrios, Rosie, and Mark all flying the flag for the South. So which is great. And me and you, Basil, are flying the flag for London. So so yeah,
It's actually
we're
not a
outnumbered.
coincidence because we work very closely with Rosie and all the hoteliers locally in Bournemouth. I haven't met Mark yet personally, but there's a very strong hospitality cohort in the South Coast, and we are practicing fantastic hospitality.
Excellent, brilliant. And you've all got great international experience as well. You've all worked overseas, you know, Mark from Hong Kong, Basil in you know, Dubai and the Middle East, and Dimitrios with, you know, your international travel. So we'll be able to bring that international feel to our international members today's subject as well, which is all about how to deliver a strategic business management in hospitality. So delivering that in the industry requires a combination of understanding the industry's unique challenges, implementing effective strategies, and ensuring exceptional customer service. To help deliver this, we need to understand a few key points: understanding the industry, set clear objectives, develop a strategic plan, focus on the customer experience, optimize operations, invest in training and development, monitor performance, adapt and innovate, manage finances, build on partnerships, ensure that we build and we comply with regulations, and seek feedback and adapt to that feedback. So there's quite a lot there when you're setting up a strategic plan for the hospitality sector and for your business. And we'll try to cover as many of those points today as we can, but there's a lot there to get our teeth stuck into. So I want to start focusing on the top of that list, really, to start off with, and then really about understanding the industry, how we gain a deep understanding of hospitality, how we understand trends, challenges and opportunities. Basil, I'm going to come to you first, really, if that's all right. How do you go about putting that into practice, understanding the industry? How do you keep up with the trends and challenges and things that are coming, emerging technologies and stuff? What do you do in that space?
Thank you, Sam. Actually, is obviously is not very easy. Transitions and transforming from the classic way of doing things then to the 2024. I can focus maybe my experience on the people management of that industry, which is basically if we all agree, it's there's the most two important element in hospitality is your product and the people who deliver it, especially in our industry. I'm sure you all agree with that. So we focus first. Number one focus is people these days. I mean, that started 10 years until now. You can see and feel there is more focus on the employee, on the people who are behind your brand, behind your company. That will be translating to the long service, how long they are staying with you or with your group or with your branch, etc. How to then provide them with the latest updated software, tools, techniques to make their service delivery easier. So at Hilton, an example, because I'm with them now for the last 3 years, there is a lot of focus of the new generation and how they understand and take service in general, and we translate that to then training material software which is supporting them. I can give you a very simple example. In my office, I have 2 more HR personnel from a totally different generation. However, the years between them is less than 6 years between both candidates. So now we are not only talking about Generation X, where I'm between X and millennials. Today in my office, I have Generation Z. She born from 95. 95 to 29. Majority of my employee are that Generation Z. They are the fresh graduate coming to the industry. How do I deliver the service culture to them, which is so different than deliver it to people and their manager who are maybe from my generation or before? How we gonna move forward then? I just searched today the new. I was asking myself what we gonna call the new generation. They will call them Alpha. Anyone born in 2010, which is they are graduating from college in the next 10 years. They will be in college and graduating. This is what we're gonna deal with. Can we imagine the world moving forward? Yes, we can. We just have to keep ourselves updated. Technology, AI. I mean, we must start now look at the artificial intelligence seriously, not to feel worried from it, but how we can use it to support the new generation coming to the industry or to our people, or to be honest, from older generation. This is a changes happening now. We are thinking about our reservation system and how we can AI support in that. Not to be robotic, however, to give a better service. We are linking that to our concierge service. You know, the day-to-day conversation. If the guests, because the guests also, don't forget, they are also, we can categorize them, the categories of the generation too. They are not only the millennials. They are also the who maybe they like to see you around the lobby, but also they don't mind to talk to you on a WhatsApp app. They don't mind the robot to answer them somehow. They feel like you are cool, and this is how the whole branding all about. I also can add the employee branding is important for your people. Now that no one want to work for an ex-employer. They want to be belonging, sense of belonging to the company, what you stand for. Branding is very important this day. In my interviews, they are all about what is Canopy story, what is Hilton, what the goals moving forward, the environment. They ask a lot of how you support the environment, which questions never was asked to me in my interview, in my like what your take in the environment and how your company is more green. I never asked my employer that 10 years ago. So that is actually fascinating, is the way how they think, and I'm learning from them a lot. So yes, I mentioned the AI, the environment, mental health is a topic now. Also, they're asking what you are doing to your people toward a healthier mental health, healthier work environment. That is also very hot topic. If you are planning your 2024 strategic in the industry toward people, I think this is the 3 points I will most focus on first to update my hotel, my industry, my company to be ready to work to serve the people the best way. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what was really good is you're talking to your own team to understand your your guests, but also your internal customers, your teams, and your
Absolutely.
you serve as a HR team. Obviously they're your internal customers, but also ultimately your guests. you've got that you see in your office as three different generations, three different needs, but that's reflective of your team, the wider team, but also your wider, obviously your guests as well that are staying, and
Absolutely.
I think that's really good. And I think lots of when we talk about understanding the industry, so lots of it is about listening, isn't it? And listening to the needs, listening to the requirements that they need, and then adapting and using technologies. You're talking about AI, and you're talking about, you know, robots to serve your guests and that sort of stuff. You know, whatever those generations need. Robots might be great for one generation, not great for baby boomers, for example.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
need to be understanding, which is great. Rosie, if I could come to you next, if that's okay, and just talk a little bit about setting clear objectives. So, you know, we can have a plan, but how do we execute that plan with clear objectives? What do you do in your business when you're setting your long-term vision and considering factors such as markets, competition, financial goals, that sort of stuff?
So I suppose with setting clear objectives, it's understanding your team and who works best in your team to get the most out of them. There's no point in setting objectives if you haven't got the right team to then filter that out and through. So understand your team, make sure you know them. I mean, I have 85 to 95 staff in this hotel. We know everyone by first name. So we understand they're not just a number. We do all sorts of things from their mental health. We work with the Burnt Chef Project. We did a study with Peopleful. We provide Thrive, which is like a EAP system, but it's really user friendly. But then what we do, so we provide a lot for the staff, but we make sure we know what matters to them. So it's like Basil said, understand what they want and then filter that out, because I've lived in this particular hotel since I was 11 years old, and the changes I have seen over the last 35 years has been unbelievable. I mean, the whole business has changed, and make sure you have the people in the right position. I know how the hotel runs, but I am not a marketing person. I don't understand all the AI. I have people in that understand those positions that can feed back to me. So I have to keep an overview of everything, but make sure you get the right people in for the positions that they are right. Focusing on, I have a consultant that works with us a couple of days a week who does all our staff recruitment, training. He does one-to-one mentoring with them, so he can teach them how to make sure when they set clear objectives to their team, that follows through right the way through the business, so that everyone's working from the same goal.
Brilliant. And obviously you're obviously a well-established business, and you know you probably have a lot of repeat guests and people that come back to you year on year. So how do you set the long-term vision? Do you just say, right, we just do the same in, year out, or do you constantly looking at ways to innovate and develop and set that long-term vision for the hotel? How do you approach that sort of stuff?
So for us, with the future of the hotel, we learn what your business is good at and work with that. So how are you going to keep improving on that year on year? I am very much, we do a lot of groups in our hotel and we have a lot of event space, but we're not a very corporate business. So there's no point in focusing on, we've got to get all the corporates, because it's not a right mix at the hotel. So work with what you've got, focus on what you've got and how those items are changing. So how can you make sure that if I'm on the Greek market, how can we expand and make sure our name is still out there and relevant? So tomorrow night we have an event just for the travel trade and for attractions across Dorset, who are going to come and listen to group travel organisers about how to sell their ideas to this market. And we've got various attractions, hotels, all sorts of things, but always keep on top of what is happening and what the clientele you have are looking for the future, and make sure you're ahead of the game, because if you don't keep up with that, you are completely lost.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And a big factor of that is knowing what your competition's doing
Yeah,
as well, isn't it? So, you know, having those cups of teas and glasses of wine in other people's hotels and bars just to see what they're doing and learning from that, you know, is great
research and
CPD, isn't
development.
it?
Yeah, research and development is always good.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rosie. That's really good insight. And understanding your market, I think, is what I heard from what you were saying there, really. You know, understanding what your guest needs, what you're good at, you know, and excel at that. Like you say, your corporate business is, you know, is not there. It doesn't suit your establishment. So let's really focus on what you are good at versus Basil, what Basil was saying, you know, that they have a very different type of clientele to you. So they want the robots and they want the AI in there and doing all of that stuff. So yeah, that's coming across really good.
Yeah.
So Dimitros, if I can come to you next, and with your academic hat on, and this is where we now start to develop a plan. So we've understood the industry, we understand our marketplace, we know where we want to be and what we're doing. We need to get it down on paper, don't we? We need to get this written out. We need to get a strategy, look at all the different elements. How do we do that? Tell us from your point of view how you would get this down into a plan.
Thank you. I think the classic strategic management kind of approach is where are we now, where do we want to go, how to get there. Three simple questions, which actually are incredibly complex, especially in our area. Primarily what you are looking at is you are looking into the market prospect. What's your markets and who are the people who want to buy your products? And you're looking at competition, you're doing a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and then you're creating strategies that are long-term and short-term strategies, operational and strategic. All that is great in theory until major things are happening, that they're changing value chains and they're changing the way we operate. So you really need effectively to develop a competitive operation that has got resilience on the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that with COVID, we've seen that with many of the challenges that we're facing currently. As I said to you earlier, I was in Greece over the few last week and few last days in a place called Kalamata, advising hoteliers and hospitality operators how to do better and attract more people. And 3 o'clock in the morning, I was in a very nice place with live music, and the news start coming on what was happening from Iran and Israel. And all of a sudden, the whole operations and everything that we're doing and the planning that we're doing was kind of, we immediately went, okay, let's see how is that going to play out. And from where Greece right now is about 15%, the predictions are 15% higher than last year, that can have a huge influence depending on how it's going to play out. That is leading towards agility. So what we need to have is agility throughout the business. And every single person that operates in Basil's hotel, in Rose's hotels, need to be agile enough to understand what the customers want, what the market looks like, and how we can progress very quickly in adding value to the business, adding value to the local people, adding value to the customers, adding value to everybody who is around. And I think this is where my area of specialization, which is technology and technological empowerment, is becoming really important, because you use all kind of new technologies to understand what's happening, and you use agility to adapt smart systems to meet your requirements on the short term and the long term. And that is exactly where competitiveness is coming from. It's that kind of agility that you have a strategy, but you adapt the strategy to your environment, your context.
And your strategy and your plan, how do you practically do that? So do you write that down? Do you have a document? Do you have it as a presentation? Do you train your staff on it? What sort of things would you recommend we look at when you're writing your strategy?
I think ideally it depends on how well trained you are on these things. You know, my students would have gone through a formal kind of training on how to do that. There are 12 steps, and primarily those 12 steps are addressed to where are we now, what's our situation, where do we want to go within. You know, quite often when I'm doing training for people, I say, what are you going to do in 2 days, in 2 weeks, in 2 months, in 2 years?
Yeah.
And then how you're going to do that. That's the implementation, that's the operational management. I always suggest to people to write that down. Sometimes, you know, if you're a big company like Hilton, where Basil's come from, that you've got to bring everybody together, you need to write all these things, you need to document them, and you need to go with that. If you're a small operation like Rosie's, that is a middle-sized hotel, effectively, you may do it a little bit more informally because you're in very closely working with all your managers and you all understand what it does, and maybe 3 pages or 5 pages. But it's always good to have everything written down, and it's always good that you've got a soft copy that you keep updating depending on what's happening. Once you have got that, then you can see how you can adjust and adapt things depending on the different things that are happening in your context. For example, today in Bournemouth, it's really sunny. It's a little bit cold. It's about 10 degrees. It's going to go up to 12. What Rosie's prices would have been early on, today she can sell rooms for 10% more or 15% more because of the weather down here is lovely. Come and see us, guys, and stay in Rosie's hotel. If it was raining, if it was bad weather, she may have had to adjust that to make sure that she has got last minute bookings that if it was not so attractive. So it's all about resilience, agility, context, and it's all about adjusting everything that we do in a way that we optimize resources at this particular moment with a view of the long term, which people used to plan for 3 years. And I was in Hong Kong, by the way, Mark, for a year in 2021. And the government came one day, and just after Chinese New Year, during the COVID period, and they said, as in 3 days' time, you're going to close dinner operations at 6 o'clock. And therefore, people who had bought so much staff to operate, they were not able to operate. So there was agility in what am I going to do if I do not run dinner operations? What I'm going to do with all these materials that I've bought already? What I'm going to do with my staff? And there were very innovative ways that the hotels were using to actually deal with that. I'll just say one example, that they created a takeaway service from the restaurants that they operated. So they didn't operate the service, but they operated a takeaway service. And some of them, they start using their rooms as restaurants because they could do room service. The people didn't really want to go and stay the night, but they want to go out and eat and meet friends and things like that. So what they did is they turned some of their bedrooms into effectively restaurants with a takeaway from the second floor to the 12th floor, and they're operating. It's all that agility that we had to learn during the COVID period. And so all this new technology that's coming forward to engage with all the different elements of the external environment, and that keeps us on our toes. And innovative operations like Rosie, they're doing it day in, day out. But the Institute of Hospitality has got the responsibility to train all these other people who have not really understood how important it is, and especially the small businesses, that they really need to be competitive within this environment, where they compete with the big chains that they've got the expertise, and also with other newcomers who are coming to take part of their market share.
That's fascinating, Demetrios, and yeah, I think some real good takeaways from what you've just said there. Some really good learning points. Just as a thing that we do here at the Institute, we've all got on our desktops the 5 strategic objectives of the IoH, just as our desktop backgrounds, just so every time you open your laptop or your computer, you're reminded of the objectives of the business. So simple things like that really are good examples. So, it doesn't have to be a big 500-page strategy document, because probably nobody's going to read it, nobody's going to understand it. But, just some simple things, where you're heading, what your objectives are. And, having that ability and the agility in that is great. Mark, if I could come to you next to talk about optimizing operations. So we understand our sector, we understand our industry, we've set our plans, we've got our objectives, we've set our plan up. Now we need to deliver it, and this is probably the hardest element of business management is delivering what you said you're going to do. So streamlining those operations to improve efficiency, reducing costs whilst maintaining quality standards, using technology solutions, optimizing staffing levels, standardizing processes, all help us in that. Can you talk us through some examples where you've seen that worked really well, in your experience, if you don't mind?
Sure, Sam. It's great actually that you've given me that platform, because that's really described my working life. And I haven't worked in South America, but I have spent most of my life outside of UK, having originally started in London. And way back at the London Penta in the 1970s, that's when I learned something very interesting. It was called synchronamics. And it basically measured every job. And it's unbelievable, this is almost 50 years ago. Measured every job and then paid people according to their output on those measurements. So people could get a bonus at the end of the shift without doing any overtime. And as I went overseas, and I've worked in many different cultures, and some cultures are very sympathetic to hospitality, particularly Japan and Thailand. Mm-hmm. Even though there's often a language barrier, you still feel you've had an amazing, warm and engaging service. And other cultures find it more challenging, and when you come to innovation, are more stuck in the ways we've always done things. And one of the things I've learned, and I spent 5 very formative years with Hilton Basel, and I think I saw yesterday, I was doing some reading, didn't Hilton win best employer in the world last year?
Thank you for mentioning, Mark. Thank you very much for mentioning. Yes.
Well, it's a great award, and this is not amongst the hotel industry. This is across all industries. Yeah. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't recall the list, but the other hotel companies are way down the list. And there's companies you'd think would be on that list are just not there. So before all this happened, I realized our biggest challenge in most environments, most locations, was what you said earlier, Sam, about you can have all the strategic plans, and I think Dimitri said it. You've also got to find who's going to actually deliver and execute on that. And if you don't have the team set up, as Rosie said, you don't know your team and what their strengths are, it's all going to fall apart. And all of us know brands that make sweeping brand promises in their portfolio, in their advertising, and then fail to deliver. There's many banks that suffer that particular delinquency. So across the world, I found one very constant thing in every culture with slight nuances. And it's really what you've done in Hilton Basel. You've got to be a popular employer. You've got to have a waiting list at your back door of qualified people who want to join with you. It doesn't work if you're picking up the people that everyone else has not employed. And there's a number of ways you can do it. And this is not new. 100 years ago, John Lewis did it by making everyone partners in London. And I think still to this day that kind of operates. Although I don't think they've had a bonus this year. But so turning the strategy a little bit on its head, what we found worked was looking at our primary purpose and having this mindset. The primary purpose is to be the premier employer that will attract people to invest not a few dollars of spare capital, but to invest their time and their life in this job, because that's a huge investment. People with choices are going to weigh up the pros and cons of what career they go with. And if you want to have those top people working with you, you've got to really appeal to them and have a competitive advantage over the other potential employers. And there was a great book written, I think, in the mid-90s by Ricardo Semler called The Maverick. If you haven't read it, there's a few summaries online. The whole book is great. He was running a factory in South America, and he ended up being the most popular employer, and a short list of qualified people on the wait list. Whenever a vacancy came, people were already queuing at the door. So if you can do that, and it comes to optimization, Sam, if you have a team of highly motivated, engaging, intelligent, and articulate team members, you can actually operate with less people than if you have the kind of employees that are taking the job because they've got no other options. And I'm trying to be careful how I say that, but it allows you to choose the right people for the right job, and the people who are going to be naturally hospitable, naturally warm, and naturally offer to their colleagues as well as the customers tender loving care. That's what hospitality is. It can also enable you to reduce your hierarchies, because such people don't need close supervision. In fact, they don't want close supervision. And if you're expanding as Hilton has and other companies have, that gives you a pool of labor for that expansion. You've got future managers in that pool coming along. My family has a chain of coffee shops in Hong Kong, and I wouldn't say we absolutely do this, but it is a very popular place where people want to work. And many of the employees started in the business as a customer and saw that the employees were having fun and it was an engaging place to work. And then they paying their bill and they'd say, oh, you know, I'm quite interested. How would I get a job here? How would my daughter or my son get a job here? I'd love to see them working here. So it's that kind of community spirit which positions you with an advantage of who you're going to hire, who you're going to attract. And that gives you such an advantage.
Absolutely, Mark. Yeah, that's, you know, and we will hopefully we'll have time in a bit, but we're going to talk about building relationships and partnerships and stuff as well, which I think exactly what you're talking about. And you know, all of this stuff is really useful, because I think unless we sit back and talk and reflect about it, sometimes actually we just, you know, we have our to-do list, we have our tick lists to do, and we just go ahead and do it, and actually stopping, taking a moment and reflecting. And you talked a lot there about people, and it's come up quite a lot today, is about the people that we work with, we employ, we look after. And Basil, if I could just bring you in here with your HR hat on, investing in training and development, especially when the industry is facing challenges. You know, costs are up. You know, we've done webinars on that already, but that is so important, isn't it? Providing that ongoing, continuing professional development, apprenticeships, training, providing training, whether that's internally, externally. How do you approach it there at Canopy and Hilton in generally in sort of investing in your staff?
Thank you, Sam. It's actually it's very good description you just had, Sam. It's difficult. It's all about the budget as well, and the effectiveness. When we come to learning and development, it's all about what also Rosie just said, is your business model, what you really need for your particular business model. Yeah, so we are a lifestyle hotel, in example. Canopy is a lifestyle, 5-star environment, a classic service culture will not help me. An example,
Mm-hmm.
it's have to be specific. So step number one, your training have to be with the meaning. We can't now just call for a classroom training for any topic we have in the job descriptions. That will not be fair, will not be effective, and it will not have what Mark just mentioned. We will not be popular by doing that. I like this word. I will use it a lot. We want to be popular. Is the optimism goal we have. So if I just open a job description and I went through topic from it, and just that will work in very specific rules, but not for everyone in the hotel. So what we do, we defined our own type of service. We translate it to workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So we invite them to a classroom. We go a little bit classic on that, ABC of service, because remember, all these beautiful people either came from a nice experience 4 or 5 years in a similar industry, or fresh graduates. So you want to put something in the middle for both audience. So we do a lot of role play of from the art of welcoming, interacting with the guest. The model will go all the way to wow factors from our point of view. So first you have to design that. That will not necessarily costly, because you will use your internal management to deliver it.
Yeah.
I think what we've done, most of our managers are train the trainer certified, so they know the ABC of the training methods, just to deliver a 1 or 2 hour training. So we did this. We link it with the service culture, so they are trainer. We create brand ambassadors. This is very easy, free of charge way to create a departmental trainer, let's call them, who will focus on the other on-the-job training and development. And I think step number 3, the e-learning. I mean, there is some giving up on it these days, because it's become a little bit boring. Or to be honest, it was so attractive in the beginning when we created it, but then now it's only clicking. So we are in conversation with our provider to make it more interactive, easier quiz. We don't want to challenge their learning. We want them to learn. And this is a big two difference. I mean, you are a hotel in the end of the day. We are not NHS in our industry. Let them pass. Let them learn easily. It's not about we are not a university anymore. So this is a real world. You just want to make easier quiz. And we just had this conversation a few days. Yes, we talked about the AI a while ago and how we can put them in, but it's also play a big role in our learning and development. Why not? Let's search an updated amenities in lifestyle world. The chat GPT will give you a very good idea, list of ideas. Then choose what is beneficial for you. So we are not scaring people from using these tools. We are encouraging them actually to do it. The last things we do also is the personal development plan. We talk about being popular. We talk about keep them engaged. We want them to queue to apply, but also I want my own employee to stay with me and be loyal, right? So what is it for us if I stay 2 years, 3 years as an employee? Well, I will put you in a personal development plan which is tailor fit for you. So there is a generic training you need to go through, but also I will make one tailor fit development plan. The percentage we promised to do in 2024 is 20% of the total number of the employee to be in a personal development plan. This is our talent pool. This is our superstars, which we want to keep them. We want them to grow with us or Hilton or for their own benefit as well. So we want them to, even if they left Canopy, to remember us that, okay, the training was there is amazing. Like again, what Mark also, Professor Dimitrios mentioned, that they will remember you. They will remember us. So we want to have in Hyatt, an example, there is a very good guidelines. There is the art of goodbye for employee. Who invests in a goodbye for employee? And it was fascinating. That 2000, I was with them 10, 11. So, and we were like having the employee journey in a way where there is training and development and also art of goodbye. Even if you are saying goodbye, praise it, see you later. This is how they call it. So I think it's a very good vision to go through.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? The art of endings, you know, is always. And speaking of endings, we're coming up to the last 15 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, now's a good time to fire them to our panel and get them working for the last 10 minutes we've got together. Thank you, Beza. Really good insights there to looking after training and development in your people. So yeah, no, 100%. You think that's exactly makes sense. Rosie, and that obviously has a massive impact on customer experience. And you know, we've already mentioned a little bit about your returning, but how do you provide like those personalized service, loyalty programs, gathering feedback? How do you go about doing that in your customer service journey at Marsham Court?
Yeah, so I would say 75% of our guests are returning year on year, which is quite high. But again, the most important thing to do is not work on just getting the business in. It's looking after the business while they're here, making sure the guest has a really good goodbye, and we look forward to seeing you next year, or you know, the staff get to know them. And I think the reason why our guests come back is because of our staff. Our staff is our biggest selling tool, and some companies do take staff for granted. You can't don't veto over how important your team can be to your business. Look after your team. They will look after your guests, make sure they understand the feedback, whether it's good or bad, and what we can work on, but make sure that that interaction with your team is always there. And there's different ways to do that. I mean, we have a loyalty scheme called Boomerangs, because they keep coming back, and we do that internally. Obviously, we have a smaller way of doing it, but it gives them different things. But we also make all our newsletters that go out to us, we have staff focus in that too, so they know if somebody's gone off and had a baby, or you know, we keep them updated on the stuff, because they love the staff, and we employ on personality, not on experience, because you can teach anyone to do the job, but your personality is what gets our guests keep coming back. And because you've got a good personality, you then fit in with the rest of the team. So never sort of underestimate how much the guests appreciate your staff in your hotel, and that is your biggest selling tool.
Absolutely, that's amazing. It sounds like a real sense of community, Rosie, at the hotel, doesn't it? It sounds like a proper family.
I mean, we've got one girl who's worked for us on and off now for 30 years, and now her son, who has special educational needs, he now works for us. And because of the programs we do with different people with special educational needs from a variety of different charities, he has been able to learn how to catch the bus to and from work, and that is a huge step in his confidence. And actually the staff get a huge amount out of that, and so do the guests, knowing and seeing how they develop. So yeah, it's a good all-rounder, really.
Brilliant. Well, makes me want to come and stay, let alone come and work. You've sold it to me, Rosie. Dimitris, if I could come to you again, and we're here, we just want to talk about innovation and adapting to innovation, and being willing to adapt to those changes in the market and to the industry. How do people stay ahead? How do they keep up with all the new technologies? And you know, Basil's already mentioned, you know, AI and ChatGPT in learning development, but where do people go to find out what's going on? How do they keep up? Where can they do their research?
They come to us.
Oh, well, that was a short answer. Thank you. So
They pay us to do the research. They read our papers. Many of them are free. Some of them you've got to pay for. If you send me a nice email, I'll send them to you for free, so you can read and you can learn. So it's important that you understand who are the serious academics and who are the serious universities and research centers that they're creating all this research. The question, quite often people are telling me, oh my God, I cannot find all this information, all the rest of it. I said, you didn't really want it enough. If you really want enough, you'll find them. They're out there. They're on the public domain. You can find a lot of things. You should also work with experts, that we are spending our life doing that. The other thing is, have a look on what your competitors or the people in your neighborhood are doing. I'm a huge fan of Marsam Court Hotel and Rosie and what she's doing. And I'm always saying to people, please copy what Rosie is doing. And I'm sure Rosie is actually spending so much time giving to the local community, and with another few hoteliers around Bournemouth, they are sharing so much good practice, and they are competing. They're competing and collaborating at the same time. So the content is here. It's available. We are producing it. And as I was saying to you early on, I'm more than happy to host an Institute of Hospitality event in Bournemouth University. I'm sure that Rosie will be delighted to provide some hospitality in her hotel as well. So we can do a university hotel coming together with the BAHA, which I always forget what exactly it stands for, but it's Bournemouth
BH Area Hospitality Association.
It is changing and it's expanding as well. That's why I keep forgetting. But Rose is the chair of that. So we're all here together and we learn from each other. I learn from what they do. They learn from what we do. And this is how we're taking that forward. It's not rocket science. At the end of the day, if you are listening, quite often I'm going to hotels and I find young employees or some of my graduates who are going to hotels, and hoteliers are asking them to de-skill because they don't have the skill. So what's happening is that you've got a 22, 23, 25 years old who has gone out of training. They've gone into the hotels. They've got all the skills of the world and say, let's do that. Let's do social media. Let's do AI. Let's do things like that. And then you may have a front office manager who has been in that position for 20 years or so and say, hold on a second. This is not how we do things here. So we ask people effectively to de-skill and go back to skills that are not required. So that's a long answer to your short question. But really, if you want expertise on technology, agility, strategy, you're coming to those people who are writing the books and they're doing the research, and that's us, that's marketing for you. You look into your other competitors who are doing that better than you. And there's so much free and available resources out there. And then your professional body, the Institute of Hospitality, should be actually coordinating these resources with us, with those people, the hoteliers, and all those people who have got the expertise to bring the industry and to bring all this ecosystem up. Because what's happening is that if we don't do that, Mr. Apple is going to come and Mr. Google and all GTP are going to do it for us, and they'll organize things in a very different way. And I think we're in a very privileged position that we've got the knowledge, we've got the expertise, not only theoretical, but also operational, strategic, and globally, we are in a very, very good position to be able to share this information, make sure that people benefit and take things forward.
Brilliant. And that's, leads me on nicely to our last point, which is for you, Mark, all about building partnerships and building, there's some really strong themes that have come in through today. And I think the last one to finish on, Mark, is all about that building partnerships, isn't it? About working together, even collaborating with other businesses, maybe your competitors, but those experts that you might not necessarily always have access to support you in that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Rose's program, was it the Boomerang program?
Boomerang,
yeah. And Basil's reference to the art of goodbye. So you've got competitors and they will steal one of your staff. We know this. And some hotels, some companies, the goodbye is like a jilted lover divorce. It's so bad. It's so horrible. And when you know that, and this is not really collaboration, but it's knowing the environment and knowing your context, as Dimitri said, when you know a star employee is going to a competitor who may be not the most popular, I would always stay in touch with that employee. And a week in, I'd say, so I just wanted to check in with you. How's the new job? Is it everything you expected? And how many of that conversation leads to a boomerang? You know, and it's the follow up. And when somebody leaves, celebrate them leaving, having a leaving party, have their colleagues together, make it a great event, and they've got great memories. And so it is about collaboration, and you end up. Well, I think what you've achieved, not you personally, Basil, but you're part of it, that Hilton has that reputation for being the most popular employer. Everyone in the hospitality industry should have that as part of their goal. Maybe not worldwide, but in their particular city, their particular environment. And by collaborating with your competitors, with your suppliers, having suppliers parties, because you're also competing for suppliers these days. You know, some goods you want to get might not be available to you. So being popular and being hospitable in your environment with your staff, with your competitors, with your suppliers, with the taxi drivers, everyone who's contributing to your business.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a great point to finish on, Mark. That is really brought us to the end of our time together. That hour has absolutely flown by. So what do they say when you're having time flies when you're having fun? I think time flies when you're learning lots as well. So thank you so much. I think just in conclusion from what we've said today, that following those steps and that advice that we've been hearing today really helps us focus on strategic business management, and you can then effectively deliver success in the hospitality industry and that continuous improvement, what we're always striving for. So Dimitrios, Basil, Mark, Rosie, thank you so much for your time today. You give this up freely, not just today, but in preparation for today as well. We really appreciate that from everybody here at the Institute of Hospitality, from all our members and students that are dialing in today. So thank you very much. And if we could give you a round of applause, we would, but it's a bit hard when we're all, but well done. Thank you very much. Yeah, divulging in that. Just before we go, just a few more.
Before you go,
yes.
Sam, before you go, your action point is to organize an event in Bournemouth.
Yes.
I'm adding it to my list.
And with that wine supplier we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Sam, we should also thank you for moderating this panel. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very
Absolutely.
kind, Mark. £5 in the post for you. So yeah, just before the last thing before we go is just to say that we have a couple of other events on the horizon. Our IoH in conversation is tomorrow, so it's a Zoom conversation. Join us at 10:30. You don't need to book; just go onto our website, go to the events page, and you can join our in conversation tomorrow. On the 14th of May is our next CPD webinar, and it's all about managing stress in the workplace. And I know we talked about a little bit of stress today, so that will be a nice follow-on from what we was talking about today. And then at the end of May on the 20th, we have our Above and Beyond at the Park Gates Hotel in Cardiff. So out of London, which is exciting. So that brings us to the end of today. Please remember to add this hour to your CPD records on your members dashboard to show that you've had professional development today and have some reflections of what you've learned today on there as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Hopefully it stays warm, especially for the South Coast, so Rosie can keep pushing up her room rates. And we'll see you all again very soon. Take care. Cheerio.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Thank you.
Bye.